that shit's got to stop.
For sure.
Agreed.
Agreed.
But from you being a Baptist, I think the Baptist is like let's say the 10 is like the super Christians. Where are the Baptists? Are they 10? Are they
They're like
9?
an 8, 9, 10, depending on what. Well, Baptists, like there's a range of Baptists, so it really depends on what kind of Baptist we're talking about.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So I guess my question is, like, where do you understand how this gay is bad even entered Christianity? Like, is it everything derived from like Adam and Eve? Because as far as I know, aside from that lay with the man sort of thing in the Old Testament, there's nothing that says being gay is wrong, and we have so much evidence from like the Greeks, the Romans, that there was such fluidity in gender and sex and all of it. So do you have any idea of where this nonsense came from that now is like stamped into Christianity, that like if you have feelings towards men, you just stamp that out? That's just the decision that you make, like what you're going to have for lunch.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's coming from a few different tenets of like how people are indoctrinated within Christian culture. Adam and Eve is a big part of it. So there's a verse in Genesis 2, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. There's a commandment that Adam and Eve are to, be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth and subdue it. And so Christians started deriving these fundamental basic principles about why humans even exist. And some of the definitions for that are, we are here to procreate. That is a major function for the fulfillment of humanity's destiny or purpose. Procreation, which many intellectual people who've participated in this conversation have debunked that and been like, this is absurd. That is not true. That's not even what the Bible is going after. But most indoctrinated Christians who don't know what they're talking about believe that on a fundamental level. A lot of right-wing conservative political people believe the reason people exist is to procreate within a monogamous heterosexual relationship, right?
Right. Which will inevitably end the planet with overpopulation. But that's
right.
I mean, that's altogether.
Yeah. Anyway, so that obviously goes in other directions, but it's coming from, so Genesis 2 is a big derivative for where these like strong beliefs are coming from. The New Testament, this changed in 1946. The translations in English started to use the word homosexual instead of the other words that had always been used for the last 2,000 years. And so we've got verses in the English translations that were coming out since the 1940s saying homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom. God gave them over to their lusts, and they were inflamed with lust for each other. Like these verbiage started to like point at what modern translators assumed they were talking about: homosexuals, gay people. Even though that was never the verbiage up until then, they finally updated the language to rightly address the scourge that's being confronted in these verses, right? And so it became about gay people, like 80 years ago or whatever. So that's another major contributing factor to how and why this has become what it is in the church. Am I answering your question?
Fascinating. Yeah, I had no idea about any of that, and that really does help. I thought they just grabbed onto something at some point and started to run with it, because again, a lot of the religiosity doesn't make so much sense to me. So I just assumed that makes the most sense, to be honest. That some jerk translator was like da, 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 and that just changed the history for the last 150 years or whatever.